Hey, I'm Joe Schipani, and I've made a career of having a big impact on a small set of people, and I'm running an experiment to see if I can scale that up. Right now, my goal is to have an impact on 1 million people. So, with that, I want to introduce an idea that I've been thinking about. I am building something longer form about this in terms of business life cycle stages, but there's a lot of smoke out there about this thing, enshittification. I think it's a great word, but it's basically technology feels like it's getting worse and bad. Simple one is AirPods, right? Like AirPods felt magical; they just connected really well, and they're just getting worse. Um, I've had the opportunity to work at some very large companies, and I've also worked at small companies. I've seen a lot of technology boom bust cycles. And here's my thesis. My thesis is that as companies go from kind of new and emerging and growing to mature and like really about wringing things out and so forth, especially through the natural cycle of capitalism, where like they reach public, they become public, and then they have a large set of stakeholders out there that they become beholden to. You can look into corporate law about this. Dodge versus Ford is where the precedent is. But they have to do things that are in the shareholders' best interest, and I'm not making any political statements about that. What I am saying is, what happens over time is that companies and markets crystallize around the way things are done. You can pick anyone. I was in the industrial space, in industrial control specifically, and there's an oligopoly. What emerged was about in the US, 4 to 6 vendors, globally, say 8 to 10 vendors that provide all of the industrial controls products that are out there. There are entrants that come in, like inductive automation, doing just SCADA products, but the incumbents always try to keep things where they are, and they're constantly wringing more and more out of the market. And so when it goes from technology advancement to financial advancement, that's when you start to see these sorts of things occur, and it's what happens kind of naturally. I don't think that this is a broken part. I don't think we can fight this. This is just the way that the world works today. And whatever shift happens has to be wholesale and potentially scary and damaging temporarily in order to change it. So rather than do that, let's think about this in terms of how you can use this piece of information. When you see something that has reached resource maturity and you can observe that a company or the companies that participate in that market are wringing it dry of profits and really don't have big increments in terms of value for their customers. It's smaller increments, smaller and smaller usually. When that's where a market has reached, that is usually an opportunity to disrupt it. And I honestly just wanted to share this bit of information, and I view it this way. There's products in kind of microcycles inside little markets, inside big markets, gas turbines, solar power, wind power. We've kind of seen these things grow, boom and bust. But there's also like total market trends. And I personally think that we're at the tail of the internet era, where internet style products are getting worse and worse and less effective. And we're entering a new era that's going to be AI oriented. So I am very bearish on all the players and the markets that are involved with kind of classical SaaS. And while I think that there is clearly overexuberance to do with AI, namely like the Gartner hype cycle, you can look at like we've gone way over, but we're going to come back down, and then you will see this 20, 30-year trend, although those trends are compressing as we get better at science. You will see another large market trend driven by that across this. And you can look at the same thing, industrial revolution and so forth. These booms and busts, in my view, tie to some new way of doing things, a reconfiguration of how the market works, that creating a tremendous amount of wealth and benefit for everybody in society. And then that becomes kind of mature and starts to turn into something where it's about wringing stuff out and it's much smaller increments. There's still plenty of value, and then it just starts to get worse, and then something else starts to take it over. You can observe these things in the world, and if you can have a heuristic to see that, you have an advantage, because you can then go find things and go pick your place to play where you can disrupt and be less threatened by incumbents. All right. Hope this is helpful. Thanks.